I'll give everybody a few minutes to kind of get on here before I start answering some of the questions. Welcome in, everybody. My name's Derek. I'm a body architect at our Midtown location for Anatomy. Definitely miss the gym right now a lot and miss all of our members. Excited to see a lot of people joining in that I get to see regularly at the gym, and I can't express enough how much we miss seeing everybody on a regular basis. So I'll give it a few more minutes here, a few more seconds here, and then I'll start answering some of the questions. All right, so what I did was I wrote down a lot of the questions that people had sent in via Anatomy's Instagram story, my own Instagram story, and I just wanted to make it a little bit easier so I could jot some notes down. I'm very big on that, just to make sure I could answer them to the best of my abilities. But if you guys have any other questions at any point in time, feel free to ask. And if you have any issues hearing me right now, definitely leave a note in the comments and let me know if you're having trouble at all hearing me. But one of the questions I got, what does a rest day, a typical rest day look like for you? And to be brutally honest, that's one of the biggest things that I'm working on right now, is doing a better job with my rest days. But first and foremost, it all starts with getting adequate sleep. A lot of us, whether we are working any type of job, a lot of us struggle getting the right amount of sleep that we need. But starting with getting the right amount of sleep is one of the biggest things that I find that really helps, on a rest day, making sure that I'm getting 7-8 hours of sleep. Another big thing on a rest day for me is staying alongside the same type of schedule as if it would be a non-recovery day for me. So whatever a normal day looks like, the same wake up time, the same bedtime, the same meal structure, the way I go about my day at work, I want to keep it along the same structures, so that way everything is very, very similar to me. So that way it's not a completely different day than every other day prior to that. But I also still want to be active. So just because it's a recovery day for me doesn't mean that I'm going to sit around and do nothing or not get my steps in. For me, being active means doing something that is upbeat, something that I enjoy, but I also keep my heart rate under 150. I don't want to go crazy with elevating my heart rate on my off days. Hey, Rob, Mason's in the other room. I tried to convince him to come in and join in because I know he would give some good insight too, but he was very reluctant to that. But going back onto it, I like to stay active, whether it be going for a jog on my recovery days. I wear a heart rate monitor. I wear Whoop, and that keeps track of my heart rate, so I can see on my phone how high my heart rate is getting, and I like to keep it underneath 150 on those recovery days. And then just finding other ways to kind of fill my cup. So whether that's going for a walk, if it's reading, it's doing something that I really like to do, playing sports, things like that help keep me active and keep my mind focused on those off days as well. Another question that I got were, what are some of my go-tos for recovery? One being that we have such a great gym and Anatomy. The big things that I like to try to take advantage of as much as I can are the cold plunge, the sauna, the hot tubs, things like that. But going back to it, getting enough sleep. Sleep is a huge go-to for recovery. Limiting stress, that's really big. So finding different things throughout the day to help you relieve stress. And then nutrition being on point is going to help so much when it comes to helping with the body recover. But again, like I mentioned before, one of the biggest problems for me is keeping myself on track when it comes to recovery and following my own advice. Another good question that we got on Anatomy's page was, what is the best thing to eat to keep your body full and not being hungry all the time? And there's a lot of good answers to this, but first and foremost, I would recommend reaching out to a dietitian or nutritionist to get the best possible answer with anything diet, food related. But just some of my own recommendations are, making sure that you're getting an adequate amount of your macronutrients. So one is healthy fats. So things like nuts, almonds, things like that, avocados. Healthier fats are going to help you feel satiated, and you don't have to eat as many to feel full. Some other things would be eating higher protein foods. Higher protein foods help make you feel full for sure as far as that goes. Higher fiber-based foods. complex carbs, so things like sweet potatoes, oatmeal. You don't have to eat so much of it to feel full, as opposed to sugary carbs and things like that as well. And a nice trick that I like to use as well is water. A lot of us don't realize that we're probably dehydrated or we're not drinking as much, and sometimes making sure that you're on point, getting enough water throughout the day, could be a really, really, beneficial thing to helping you feel full on a regular basis. Another good question that I got on my story was, what are some of your sleep routines and best sleep practices? As far as sleep routines go, I try to set certain patterns for myself so my body can be prepared day in and day out. So I try to go to bed at the same time every single night. I try to wake up at the same time every single day, so that I'm not really disrupting my body's circadian rhythm on a regular basis. I also try my best not to eat super close or drink super close to my bedtime. So what that means for me is I will admit I'm not as much of a night owl. I'm a morning person. I wake up every day right around 4:30. I go to bed right around 9:30 every single night. So I try to eat no later than maybe 8 o'clock every night and try to start cutting off how much water I'm drinking, several hours before bed, just so that it's not disrupting my sleep. Another thing is, I know it's hard to do. All of us have this struggle probably, but staying off of a screen device before bed. And if you are going to be on your iPhone or an iPad before you go to bed, trying to wear blue light blocking glasses. I have a pair that I try to wear whenever I'm on my iPhone, iPad at night, just to try to help block blue light from seeping in, because that's another thing that can help that can aid to disrupting sleep. One that is also very hard for me to do would be limiting caffeine intake. What I like to say is, try to limit your caffeine to the beginning of the day. At the very worst, 4 to 5 hours before bedtime, you shouldn't be having any type of caffeine. Caffeine can be something that really disrupts your sleep. So if you're trying to get into a good sleep routine, limiting the amount of caffeine that you intake per day can make a huge difference to the way you feel the next morning or the next day. So that's something you definitely want to keep track of. And then just little things as well, like I sleep in a cold room. I make sure that the temperature is no higher than 67 degrees. I want it to be pitch black, no light seeping in at all, TV's off, computers off, everything, so there's no light in the room. Those things definitely make a huge difference into better sleep practices and sleep routines. Another question that I get, that I got on my page and that I get a lot too, is just, what are some things that factor in that can help me with losing weight? People who work out every single day, they're religious at the gym, but they're not seeing the results maybe on the scale. First things first, I would ask you not to maybe look at a number on a scale to be the number one factor into how you feel and how you look on a day-to-day basis. But when it comes to losing weight, the biggest factor that I see is, if you're not losing weight or you're staying the same amount, or maybe you're gaining weight and you don't want to, is you're eating too much food. And I know that sounds silly to say and so simple to say, but that's the main factor. No matter how much exercise you're getting per day, you're probably still eating too much food based off of that exercise in order to lose weight. So it's all calories in, calories out. If you're, there's every single person, not to get into too detailed of it, but every single person has a set amount of calories that they need to eat per day to stay the same amount of weight. And whether that would be based off of whether you work out that day, whether you don't work out that day, there's still a set number of calories that you need to eat per day to stay the same weight. So if somebody's trying to put on, weight, put on muscle, they're going to need to eat in a surplus of that amount of calories. If somebody's trying to lose weight, they need to make sure that they are eating less than that amount of calories. So if you're somebody who's looking to lose weight, it sounds relatively simple, but one thing that I always recommend people to do is start tracking everything that you do, everything you eat throughout the day. I use MyFitnessPal, and if you download that app, you can track and put in every single thing that you eat on a day-to-day basis, and try tracking yourself as far as what you eat, 1, 2, 3 days in a row, and see how it works out for you. And you'd be surprised maybe how much you're overeating in certain areas of the day that make a huge difference. So if you're struggling with losing weight, kind of see where you're at right now with how much you eat and try to cut back. I know that sounds really, really simple, but it's the first step before exercise, before looking into anything else, supplements, whatever it may be. You know, eating less is the best thing you can do to lose weight. That is some of the main questions. If anybody has any questions there now, feel free to ask and I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, I'll stay on here for like another minute or so before I hop off. And again, just want to reiterate how much I know myself and the other body architects at not just Midtown, but at Miami Beach and the One Hotel as well, miss seeing everybody on a day-to-day basis. And we hope that everybody is staying healthy and strong. Can you get the same body at home as you can in the gym? Absolutely. There's no reason that anyone should be limited by equipment as to getting the type of body that they want to get. There's so many factors that go into it. Exercise is only one. So going back to what I was just talking about, you'd be surprised at how much change you can see in your body if you're on point with your diet. And I think now is the best time. All of us are confined and we're quarantined to our apartments, our homes. So why not take this time to be perfect with your diet? Do the research on it, find out what you should be eating, find out how much you should be eating, and really start to assess those things. And if you can shore up your diet right now, it's gonna make everything else exponentially easier for you. So if your diet's on point, you can still make sure that you're exercising, whether it would be going outside, going for a run. There's a lot you can do with body weight exercises. There's a lot that you can do with whether you have, you know, lighter kettlebells, dumbbells, whatever you have at home. You can still make it work and still get the body you want. The way that you go about it's a little bit different. So you might have to work a lot more time under tension. Your volume might be a little bit different, things like that. Unilateral training might come into play for upper and lower body to help you kind of get that same feel that you would with heavier weights if you're used to going to a gym. But there's no reason that you can't get the body that you want at home as opposed to in the gym. I think the biggest thing that factors into it is your diet. And if you can get that on point now, it's going to make everything so much easier when the gyms open up again and you're back into one, or whether you choose to be at home. Any other questions from anybody? I wish I could get my brother, who's a body architect as well, in here on the call. He was very reluctant as well to join in, but he's very knowledgeable on a lot of these things as well. And again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. All of us body architects at all of the anatomy locations are offering online training, online programming right now to help people with anything that they might need at home with the equipment they have. So feel free to reach out to any of us, and we'd be more than happy to give recommendations, give advice, help you through this time that you're going through, because we're all going through it together. And we got to stay healthy, you got to stay strong. Awesome. Thanks for tuning in, and looking forward to seeing all the anatomy members the second we open back up. We miss you guys, and anybody who hasn't been to anatomy, we're anxious to get you here to check out our gym in Miami. And if you've been here before, we're anxious to have you back. Thanks.